Hello and welcome back. This is Lauren Simpoli with Junior Achievement, and today I am here with Mr. Mark Scavillo. He is a Vice President of Finance and Information Services for Stihl Incorporated. Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Sure.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. So can you tell us a bit more about your job, kind of a day in the life kind of situation?
Sure, yeah. So Stihl Incorporated here in Virginia Beach, we're responsible for manufacturing products. We make chainsaws, blowers, trimmers, different outdoor power equipment, and we also sell our products and distribute them in the US and around the world.
Okay.
So we have about 2,000 people here in Virginia Beach and about 2,400 people in the US, and I'm responsible for all the financial topics. So that would be planning, analysis, closing our books annually, monthly, things like that. And we're a subsidiary of a German, the Stihl is a German company, so also reporting all our financials to Germany. And then the information services is all of our IT infrastructures, our laptops, software, iPhones, whatever else we use. And then I also have, it's not my title, but also am responsible for all the purchasing activities. So that's buying, all our materials for production, but also anything that we use, in the office areas, or any services that we buy, like consulting. We have security, we have cleaning people, especially now we have extra cleaning people here. So
yeah,
things like that.
Okay. So it's a full plate there. Yeah, that other duties is assigned situation.
That's right, yeah. So my day is just dealing with all that stuff every day.
Just wrangling all the pieces, making sure everything works together.
That's
So
right.
how did you come to this point in your career? What was your journey like?
Yeah, sure. I can start with college, I guess.
Yeah.
Originally, I wanted to be a music major.
Oh,
So I play various instruments and always enjoyed music. Was in a band for a little while in
that's
high
fun.
school and college, and thought I could write music for movies. Like
Okay.
if um, like at that time, Indiana Jones or Star
Yeah.
Wars.
John Williams, man.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love those. So I thought I could do that, and then I realized it's a lot harder than I thought it would be.
yeah.
And then my background, I was lucky enough to grow up speaking two languages besides English, so
Okay.
French and German. My mom's German,
Oh.
and I was born in France, lived there for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And I just happened to meet somebody randomly who said, "Why don't you do international business? Then you can
Uh-huh.
travel the world and use your languages." And I thought, that might be easier to do than trying to be the next
I
John
mean,
Williams. So,
no.
I switched my major to international business, and that's kind of how I got into this, into this field, I guess, of work in college.
Okay.
Um, with my jobs, I've always worked for German companies. So I mentioned Stihl is a German company. Before that, I worked for two other large German companies as well.
Okay.
I worked 8 years in Germany. So I did do have some international business experience there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, the finance part is, I like numbers. That's interesting. But I think the best part of this role is when you're in finance, everything comes together. It doesn't matter if we're selling something, everything that we sell, I get to see. Everything that we buy, I see.
Mm-hmm.
When we hire people, so you get to understand a company fairly easily in a finance role. And I always like that. I like knowing more than just what my specific job is. Even
Yeah.
the first job that I had, I always want to understand what other people are doing. So if you have that kind of interest and want to know more about how a company works, an organization works, some kind of finance position is usually a good place to be. If you
Okay.
like sales, then you're only interested in selling product. If you like
Mm-hmm.
engineering, you're just designing things. But in finance, you kind of get to see the whole picture, and that's always been really interesting for me.
Yeah. I in a previous life I worked in marketing and like same kind of thing. I think, I'm I suck at numbers, so I would not be good in the financial side of things, but
Right.
in that marketing role as well, like you're definitely seeing everything the company is doing because you have to promote all the different aspects of the brand. And absolutely, I definitely agree, like it's really cool to see what your coworkers are up to and just kind of see that big picture. Um,
Yeah.
that's
And
really cool.
actually, when I was in Germany, I wasn't in a finance role there. I was in internal audit, and that
Okay.
was interesting just because you get to look at. I like looking at all the processes. So I'm very much into trying to be as efficient as possible. I hate wasting time and
Absolutely.
getting piles of paperwork because people don't know how to use a computer and can't send you an email or things like that. So
Yeah.
looking at processes has always interested me as well. And now I feel like this role also with IT, because I get to look at software systems to see,
Mhm.
are there better ways for us to do things,
Yeah.
and the finance and purchasing roles, that all really fits together. And it's not a usual, I mean, in other companies, my title might be CFO. Here it's VP,
Okay.
but it's not usual for a CFO to have all these different departments. Usually, you're really
Hmm.
focused on the finance role. So it's kind of lucky, I think, that I'm able to have this role and have other things besides finance to deal
Yeah.
with.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fascinating. So where was college? We have to shout out your alma mater.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I went to undergrad at American University. That's in
Ah,
Washington, D.C. And then grad school, I went to they had an international MBA program at the University of South Carolina. I'm a
nice.
big Gamecock fan.
Okay.
Grew up in South Carolina. Unfortunately, they always, or recently, lose to my big nemesis, which are the Clemson Tigers. But that
Yes,
doesn't
yes.
matter. So I'm a South Carolina sports
Okay.
fan.
Okay. All right. Okay. A good friend of mine went to American for undergrad. It's a
All
cool
right.
campus, obviously, because it's in the middle of DC. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
DC is a great place to. My oldest sister went to Georgetown. DC is a great place to go to college. There are a lot of universities there, and it's not a huge city, so they're not. You don't have the skyscrapers,
Right.
but you have that metropolitan area. But it's easy to get around. There's great
Hmm.
public transportation. It was a fun college experience
Fun
for sure.
time. That's so cool. So, in your job experience, in your kind of day to day, is there anything that you're like, gee, I want to improve my skills at XYZ thing? Like, we're always trying to keep learning. So what's that experience like for you?
Yeah, so one is, taking on these different roles. So purchasing originally so I've been at Stihl 11 years now, started here in 2009,
Congrats. Awesome.
got into this position in 2016, but didn't take on purchasing until 2018.
Okay.
So, always being willing to take on more responsibility. I think that's interesting. Purchasing, I didn't know much about it before that, before I had that responsibility. So learning about that is always fun.
Yeah.
The other part is, a lot of people say, "Oh, I want to be, I don't know, CEO or run my own company," and managing other people is probably the most difficult job you can have, and that one I think is the one I keep learning about.
Sure.
So, Stihl in total has 2,400 people that we're responsible for as a management team.
Hmm.
I have over 100 people directly in my areas of responsibility, and everyone's different, and
Yeah.
everyone has different needs and different requirements. And to manage that, to be able to speak to your employees, to listen to them, that's important. A lot of people don't listen well. I think
Yeah.
that's a really valuable skill. That's something that I think you're constantly learning in a position like this. Finance,
Hmm.
there are only so many things that you need to know. Maybe there are changes
Sure.
that you want to keep up with. But the leading people, managing people, I think that's the most challenging and interesting part of any job
Oh,
like
yeah.
my position.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, speaks to you as a leader that you're like, hey, I want to be able to communicate with these people and kind of connect with them. So the fact that you're taking that into consideration is huge. So that's really great.
Yeah, thanks.
So is there any advice that you would maybe give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Um, I, Yeah, my younger self. I'm pretty happy where I am right
Nice.
now.
Okay.
Maybe the part, if I look back, is, you know, when I said I started in music.
Sure.
Um, did I think I was going to end up working in Virginia Beach for Stihl in this position? No. And maybe, you know, 20 years ago or so, I might have been thinking about it more and pushing and trying to get somewhere. And sometimes you just need to, I think sometimes your work speaks for itself. It's amazing how I even like this position, I've never really tried to force my way into something
Sure.
or you know, push my way. I'm going to say like up the ladder.
Right.
I think if you show quality work, if you have the right skills, those things come to you. And I think maybe at the beginning of my career, having more patience. I know a lot of
Yeah.
young people start a job and they think after 6 months, you know, they should be running the company, and
Yeah.
it takes a little more than that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot more to do than than whatever you learn at the beginning of your career.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe the other now that I think about it, the other interesting part was my first job. I remember there was a woman. She was a single mom with 3 kids, and
Okay.
I had my now wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, but you know, and she kept talking about all the hassles at home, and I was like, this is, you know, I don't get it. I don't know how that works.
Right.
But probably now, you know, we have 2 kids ourselves, and maybe putting everything in perspective of, you know, not everything's career.
Right.
Make sure to balance time at home, family time.
Yeah.
That's probably become more important too. You know, instead
Sure.
of just pushing work, 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 making sure that you have time to spend with family
Mm-hmm.
and 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 realizing that there are things outside of work, hobbies or
Oh,
whatever. You
yeah.
know, that's probably important to keep in mind too, instead of working 80 hours a week, which some
Yeah.
people might like doing, but then having nothing else outside. So.
Yeah. It's important to like your job is not your personality. Like,
Yes, that's right.
um, speaking of, do you still play music just in your spare time or?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, my wife last year, as a gift, got me guitar lessons.
Oh,
I hadn't played guitar in a while, so now I'm learning. I used to play like rock guitar. Now I'm learning
sure.
classical guitar. That's interesting.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I still play the piano, but that's just
Just
just for
noodling
fun. But the
around.
guitar thing's pretty cool. I'm glad I picked that up.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I play the radio, so
Yeah,
it's just I'm good at a lot of things. That was never something that really. I have some friends who are great musicians, and it's like you have that something that allows that to speak to you. So I really admire anybody who can play an instrument well, let alone
yeah.
multiple. Um, so what is there any advice that you would give to somebody who is like looking for a career in a field similar to yours, maybe somebody who might be interested in working for Stihl the company?
Yeah. So like I said, in I think in my area, you definitely need to be curious about you know, more than a specific job,
Okay.
and want to try to understand how all the different pieces in the company fit together. And the bigger the company is, the harder it is to get all the pieces. But
Yeah.
you should always try to keep that perspective. I think that's really important. It's not for everyone. And the other part that I mentioned too is leading people. You know, if someone hears I'm responsible for finance, they're like, oh, finance, I like finance. Yeah, but most of my job is leading the people that work in finance.
Hmm.
I'm not calculating numbers and doing addition. You know, that's those years. That was years back. Now
Yeah.
it's more trying to make sure I'm collecting the right information and understanding what's happening. So that would be the first thing. And I've always told people too, it's not bad if you want to work in a company and be in management, to start in a consulting job somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So if you like finance, you know, be a CPA for a few years, or work for one of the, the big four, or are we down to big three? I don't know how many are left, but 4 or 3, as a consultant. And then you can go to different companies and see how they function. There might be industries that you like, maybe some people don't like manufacturing. That's okay. You don't need to go into manufacturing. I also worked for a software company. That was neat. So, there are different fields. I would try different things out fairly early in the career, even internships. Try internships in different places. Because once you're in a company, and some people like staying with a company, they don't necessarily realize what else is out there. And even my own employees, if they're looking for something else, I would never tell someone, Stihl's the only place you should work and don't go anywhere else. If they're curious, they need to explore things. Everyone needs to find their own path. And maybe that's the last piece too, is there's no, like I said, I never thought I'd end up here. I don't think anyone can really, unless maybe you're an athlete and really good and you're like, I'm going to be, I want to become a pro athlete or something. Maybe that's a goal to reach. But for work, I would just try out as many things as possible, and until I find something that, that fits what you're interested in.
Absolutely. Because absolutely. Finding that job that like matches your personality and your strengths is really important, because it adds to your job satisfaction. Like, you're going to enjoy what you're doing if you're, if it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, even in interviews, I think maybe that was early on too. I think my initial interviews were always, I need to make a good impression. I need to make sure I say the right things. Now, if I were in an interview for a company, I'd put more pressure on that company to prove to me that we fit together, right? You need to make sure that you're not just trying to get a job. You want to be happy. Like I said, I mean, family's important and hobbies, but you're still going to be at work, the majority of the time.
Big chunk of the day,
you need to make sure you're going to enjoy coming to work, instead of just being miserable and just saying, well, I have a job and that's what I want. I think having fun at work is important too. And that's in an interview. That's where you need to, it doesn't matter if you're, entry-level position or what job you're looking for. Pepper the company a little bit just to understand what the culture is like, how they work. We always give people tours through the facility. I make sure if we interview someone, they talk to multiple people in the department, just so they get a feel of who are they going to be around, and do they, from an initial impression, you can never get it right. In an interview, but at least get some idea of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So on the flip side, what is the best piece, one of, the best pieces of career advice that you have received?
Best piece of advice that I've received, is probably being yourself at work, and having that confidence, that, even if you say something, maybe that everyone that you're working with is just as human as you are. There's no one, just because they're a president of a company and you just started here, it's okay to speak up, and as long as you do it professionally and and respectfully. I think that was probably the big. I think when I first started working, I was pretty quiet and shy, and as you can tell, maybe from this interview too, I talk more and more as time goes on. So, but starting that earlier is probably a good thing. And then you have to make sure you fit into the company. If someone doesn't want to hear what you have to say, maybe you're in the wrong place. So the earlier you can find out where you fit in, the better.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that mutual respect is really important. Like, just because, I'm higher or lower in the organization than somebody else, like, they still have good ideas. They're still a person. Like, you need to take each other seriously and like see what the other person has to say. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So as you mentioned, we touched on this briefly. You were in charge of a kind of a large group of people. Do you have any memorable moments from the hiring process, like some advice of what to do or what not to do?
Yeah, one of the major not to do's was there were I think I was with 2 or 3 other managers. So there were 4 of us in a room interviewing a candidate for a fairly one of our management positions in the company, and the person kept checking their phone.
Oh dear. Oh no.
Yeah. I don't think I need to say anymore, right?
No, you really don't. No.
That interview went really quick. And I don't know if they were trying to impress us with, look how many messages I'm getting and how important I am, but at least for me, that's a no-go. Even like I was saying with your employees, if you are a manager, I mean, listen, right? Don't be distracted. Don't do work on the side when you're talking to someone, especially not in an interview. So that's probably the biggest no-go.
Okay.
But the interviews I do like, again, is be honest, ask questions, try to understand how the company functions, try to understand you can ask the person you're interviewing, hey, what's your history? How did you get there? And, why do you like working for this company? That's all important. Just make sure that you ask as many questions as you're being asked, and be prepared. If I ask somebody that's interviewing for Stihl, I always ask, what do you know about Stihl? And if they say nothing, that's not going to work either.
No. Yeah, do your research.
Don't check your phone. Know what company you're interviewing.
Just put it in the calendar, put some notes. Yeah, absolutely. Do the prep beforehand. Yeah, and I think it's great advice, because I think sometimes, especially when, like, I remember, in the first couple job interviews that I had where they're like, oh, do you have any questions? Like, you have to have something ready because you can't just be like, no, I'm good, because,
right.
You should be having a back and forth. So by the looks of things, you appear to be back in your office. Was there a period of working from home? How have you been dealing with all the current things?
Right. No, we never had. So we're lucky enough where we own enough office space that we were able to spread people out at work. So we thought it was important. Here in Virginia Beach, we have about 1,400 people in manufacturing. They don't have the choice of working from home, sort of like, when you go to the grocery store or whatever else was considered essential.
Workers,
at that time. So we thought it made sense for all of us to continue coming to work, spreading out, trying to keep more distance. We certainly limited, number of people in meetings and things like that. But no, we never had any need to have people working from home. So I've always enjoyed being able to come to work. At least my wife and kids were at home, and at least I could kind of have some normalcy in my life and continue coming here with a lot less traffic on the roads, which was also nice.
That is delightful.
Than it was before, but we're dealing with this virus or pandemic like most other companies. Again, social distancing, wearing masks if you walk around, sanitation, right? Hand sanitizers are everywhere. I mean, certainly things have changed. It's not like we're totally working normally like we were before, but at least we're all still able to come to work, which is nice.
No, we're fortunate enough that we're able to kind of be working from home, but it's nice to like go into work and like do your work and be like, all right, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go home now. Because, and it's no big deal. Like, I'm happy to do it, but sometimes I'm like, why am I working on this thing at 10 p.m.? Go to bed, Lauren. Well, so, okay, I have been asking all of my interviews, did you have the opportunity to binge watch anything in the quarantine?
We've been watching more shows. So we have Netflix.
Yep.
So my teenage daughter convinced us to watch Outer Banks.
Oh boy.
I don't know if you know that show.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, pretty. It's surprising how intense it actually is. There's a lot of activities going on, and I think there are only 10 episodes right now.
Yeah, not a lot.
There's a lot to follow in that. So we watched that. yeah. We were watching that. Watched some movies, but yeah, the Outer Banks was a big one. And now we're watching All American, which is
Okay.
also pretty good. Less intense than Outer Banks. That one surprised me. I didn't expect it to.
Like, this is not what I signed up for.
No, yeah. Lots of twists and turns in that show. But
All right. That's hilarious. Oh, I love that. Somebody else I talked to was watching All American as well, so I'm using these
yeah,
as like things to put on my list of things to watch.
right. Yeah.
So to go with your binge watching, do you have a go-to quarantine snack?
A quarantine snack?
Yeah.
No, not really.
No, just
I'll tell you one thing.
yeah.
What's changed is we at home, at least, we feel like we're eating a lot better.
Oh, good.
Like cooking dinner. I guess it's because maybe there's more time at home,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to, at least we're trying to plan our grocery shopping more ahead of
Sure.
time. Not going every day to the store or whatever you had before. And so we're eating a lot of like really really good meals.
Nice. Okay.
Which is yeah, which is nice. So there's not anything specific that we've starting eating more
Okay.
of. There's no, I mean, we'll eat snack food
Yeah.
like we used to
The
before, but just the
huge.
cooking experience seems to be a lot more fun.
Okay.
Or maybe it's also because our daughter used to go to dance and now it's all on video, so there's no rush to eat and then
Yeah.
drive someone somewhere. So I think we're playing more games. I think I've heard that from other people too. More games at home and more walks in the
Oh
neighborhood,
my
which we
God,
see a
yes.
lot
It's like
more
I've been
people doing.
exploring my neighborhood. I'm like, oh, didn't know that was back there.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that's been kind of the different things that we've been doing. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's so nice. I like that. I've done some Zoom game nights with my parents and my sisters up in DC. So like we all get together
All
and
right, cool.
play categories. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
That's great. Oh, I love that. That's yeah. So definitely some silver linings to the current
yeah,
situation.
sure.
So that's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Mark Scavillo, thank you so much for sitting down with us. It's been really fun talking to you.
sure, Lauren. I enjoyed it as well. Yeah,
Excellent, excellent.
thanks.
Well, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, cool.
All
Bye.
right, bye.